Hi, I'm about to share with you my personal and embarrassing first sketchbook as a new artist. Now, I'm not saying that to be mean or hard on myself. I just mean it in a way that this is a very vulnerable area for me. I dove headfirst into my creative journey less than a year ago, and I started this very sketchbook about 3 months into that journey. So just like we all should be giving ourselves grace through any new challenge, believe me, I offer it to myself often. So I'd like to share my sketchbook with you today in case you're a beginner artist, or even if you're an experienced artist but have never started a sketchbook practice. I'm proof that you could be at any stage in your creative journey and still be able to complete a sketchbook. I've experienced a lot of personal growth through my sketchbook journey and discovered what elements I want to incorporate into my own art going forward. It has been a significant game changer for my overall creative development. So, if starting a sketchbook is one of your goals as an artist, you can also check out my blog post that provides 10 ways to get started with your very own sketchbook. So let's get started. My name is Steffi Pop, and I'm a registered nurse by day and a beginner artist by night. I'm sharing my creative journey and what I'm learning along the way. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more and fun creative adventures. So let's go. So this is the sketchbook that I've used as my first ever sketchbook. It is kind of a little bit more high end of a sketchbook instead of a beginner budget friendly sketchbook, but this was just what I picked at my local store. I just like the better paper quality. The brand is called Etcher, and if we look here, it comes with this little insert here. So Etcher is the brand that this is. Now the outside is white, and it's also like a fabric type of material, which is probably my least favorite thing about it because, you know, paints and dirt get on things, and the white just gets kind of dirty. It's not nearly as white as it was the day I bought it, but also I wanted to like stick stickers on here, and you're just not able to do that with the fabric lining. Okay, so moving forward, my first page. So, a funny story, this wasn't actually the first page that I painted. I actually left the first page as blank because I was actually really nervous to start on the first page. So I actually did this painting here maybe like 6 weeks after I got the book. So we'll get back to that one. This over here is actually my first painting in the sketchbook, and it was horrible. I tried to do just like a watercolor background. I did all these colors, if you can tell, in the backdrop here. And then I tried to splatter on some stars with some white gouache paint. And you can kind of see it here. It doesn't show very well on camera, but there's kind of like these white blotches. They didn't really turn out as stars. They just came out as blotches, and I was so upset with it that I actually left it as just that. It wasn't until a couple weeks later I came back. I had gotten some gouache paints for Christmas, and I came back to this page, and my husband and I had actually just watched a alien documentary of some sort, and so this was what I came up with. And so I used some gouache paints here, and then I also had just began using these Pascal pens. Love these. They're like a paint marker. It's dirty. And so I added that into there also. So as you can see, this is very simple, very messy and plain. This one here also, I just kind of wanted to play like with making some leaves, trying to add different colors, and it just wasn't coming out the way I was envisioning. I was really struggling with like my water, how much water I was having on my brushes at the time, so that was difficult also. So I did go back also with this one. I left it unfinished, and I went back with some markers and I added some stuff just to kind of zhuzh it up. Oh my gosh, yes. So bad, but this was, this is December 28th, and I had just gotten some gouache paints for Christmas, and I just don't know how to use them. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how to use them. I enjoy the watercolors, and when it comes to the gouache, I really love the vibrancy and the opaqueness. I'm just clueless as how to mix them and how to layer them, and so you'll see that throughout this sketchbook that I just honestly don't know what I'm doing with them. Same thing here. This was actually based on a reference photo from an Alaska trip I took about back in 2020, and it looks nothing like the picture. But again, this was gouache, and I truly feel like I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to gouache. It's gonna be a huge learning curve for me. I'm just not there yet to be taking on that and really diving into it, but I hope one day to get much better with it, because I do think it is a really cool medium. And so here was another one I tried to do all in gouache, and I just, from the very start when I did the backdrop, just didn't love it. I couldn't figure out how to mix it to make it look a little bit more night sky-ish. My stars were wonky. And I just didn't know how to layer. Really, that's like the hardest part for me, was figuring out how to layer gouache. And so I tried to do some practice elements over here, as you can see with the trees. I actually did like this little miniature mountain scene I did up here. I thought that was kind of cute. That turned out nice as far as what I had done so far in gouache. So yeah, but you know, something about me is I don't give up easily. I tried it again. Right over here on this side, I tried to do the same thing again. This time I was so frustrated with the sky in the last one. This time I just went ahead and did a watercolor sky and then did the rest in gouache. And I mean, I had no idea, the trees, I don't know what to do with those. What I was really going for, I don't know. But I do think my moon looks a little bit better on this one. And this mountain looks a little bit better, but the trees, I don't know. And then here, this was just a fun little thing. I do enjoy like painting mushrooms, and I really enjoy drawing them in my digital illustrations. But this one, I just was a simple mushroom that I did kind of on a lake. And then I went back with some Pascal pens, because I've learned that I really like making dash marks in my illustrations. And I should probably preference that a lot of times when I'm using my sketchbook, especially here in these beginning stages, it was more about just like experimenting and trying new things, or if I just needed to, you know, do something creative pretty quickly, like something like this is something I would just do really quickly and not try to be so detailed or thought-oriented about it. So these two pages were a rough go for me. The backdrops, I was trying to do like a nebula kind of sky, and it wasn't working. I tried to do one here, I tried to do one here under this painting, I covered it up. I tried it over here also, it was just not turning out nicely. So I abandoned ship, basically, and then a few weeks later I went back and I added on these little jellyfish with Pascal pens. I did this design, I painted over the sky here with gouache, and then I went over with Pascal pens. And then up here, the same thing. I just didn't want to leave the pages that I abandoned to be just abandoned pages, because that kind of makes me sad. But so I go back and I try to add things to it, and so this is how this turned out. Here's another little quick painting I did, trying again with gouache, but not really getting anywhere good. This is supposed to be a mushroom growing like in the roots of a tree, and the colors are just really bad. Here, I was starting to discover that I was liking like these little dash lines in some of my artwork, and so here I was just playing with that and seeing what it kind of looks like in different layers and where I could take it. So that's just a simple little newbie painting. So here again, I am utilizing gouache again, and I gotta say, this was the first time, this tree over here that kind of does the gradient from a dark to a light, was the first time I felt like that's what I like this in the gouache. But I haven't really been able to replicate that. One thing I do like about a lot of the artwork I do, I like bright colors and I like things to kind of pop, and so this is kind of something that I've learned is probably maybe a part of my style. We'll see. Here's a little beach scene. Okay, so here I was just trying to out new things. This is a sad little bear. Again, here you can see I'm trying to adding those dashes in there to see how it looks as far as like adding some texture for fur. Overall unsuccessful, but I was thrilled about these rocks. Even though they're very simple and they're blue, I was super excited that I created some sort of dimension in these rocks because I had not really done that yet until this point. So I like this part here. Wanted to paint an under the sea kind of scene, so I started just doing some elements that I thought you would find under the water, and then I was going to include them on my painting. And this was really fun. I enjoyed all of this. And doing these little studies really helped me to feel motivated to make a bigger scene, which you'll see on this next page. So this over here is my first like underwater scene. It's so busy and a little flat. I didn't, really create much depth in this painting at all, but I had a blast painting it, and I really liked all the colors, the fish, I love bubbles, and I was really enthralled in trying to make this like rock wall on these ledges to kind of make them look like ledges, so creating some depth there. That was my main focus. And so this leads us back to that very first page, because after this was when I went back and I painted this, and I did try to create a little bit more depth in this picture. So like the back, creating some more ledges that maybe seem like in the distance. I probably shouldn't have done like these here, but that was my goal with this, and like giving more contrast to the ledges. This is technically unfinished. I did scan this though and turned it into a digital option so that way I could color on it in Procreate. I think I have it somewhere. I don't remember what I did with it, but I think I did add some fishy under the sea elements in a digital format from this. But yeah, I thought this was good. This was good for me for where I was at. Okay, now here, both of these pictures are actually in gouache, and I was relatively really happy with how these mountain scenes turned out compared to where I had been previously. So for me, this was like a step of growth for me to see these two mountainscapes and how they turned out. Still kind of just like thick and blocky, but better than what I had been doing. So I was proud of those in terms of the gouache. Here's all my dashes and popping of color coming to light. I really just got carried away in a doodle here. This was really fun, just experimenting. It's what I love about the sketchbook process, is like it feels so easy to just experiment in here. I don't feel like I'm wasting paper. It's all gonna serve a purpose. It's all contained. It's not gonna get lost in the shuffle. So I liked doing things like this in my sketchbook for sure. Again, here at the water, and I was really digging the dashes and seeing how I could make that work and incorporate it. And I always like things that are whimsical, so I add these little swirlies in sometimes. The green cacti here, actually I painted those in gouache on top of watercolor. Here I just did a simple desert scene, just keeping it illustrative. Over here, I started to become really interested in creating like the edges of different environments that kind of created this sense of depth, perspective, or like shadows. And I didn't really execute it well here in this one, as you can see, but just like the river's edge and trying to make that look almost like 3D, I guess, is what I hope to be able to accomplish one day. This type of painting here is something I do when I just really want to put something down that's super easy. This right here is super easy, just creating a gradient, blobbing up some trees, and then just spackling on some stars. So I just do that when I just really need something easy to throw down. Okay, so this page is really embarrassing. I don't even know. I must have just been in a place where I was just going, not even caring. I wasn't caring about anything in this, as you can tell. But, you know, it's here. It stays. It is what it is. We'll just move on. Okay, these are all gouache. These are all gouache. So I came back to the gouache again, and I tried to do more of like my illustrative style with this. I did use a reference, I can't remember where, but I did use a reference for this and just kind of like styled it up with my own colors and textures. And I mean, it's fun to look at for sure. So that's fun. Up here, I also used another reference, I can't remember where it was, but I loved this. I accomplished, I don't know if you can see it here, but up here in this area, I accomplished what I loved as far as like creating the water's edge. It kind of looks dimensional to me if I look at it, and maybe it doesn't on camera to you guys, but I was really proud about this section of this painting here. It just turned out exactly how I wanted it, seeing like it's a slope and it's creeping over the water's edge and into the water. I just loved the way that turned out. And also like some of the shadowing here around this tree I liked. Okay, this is just a mountainscape I did, I think just off the top of my head, and it's slanty. I'm always intimidated with anything that has water reflections in it. It's very hard for me to figure out how to really make those look realistic, or not even realistic, just like they belong, I guess, is what I struggle with. But I'll keep on trying. And then here, I had seen some other videos of people doing some negative painting, and so I had just tried it myself. This kind of tested my patience, I'm gonna be honest, because I don't even remember why, but I remember feeling really frustrated while trying to do this. Okay, so now at this point, I'm starting to do a little bit more with like tutorials and following along with like YouTube videos. I also am on Skillshare, so this one I did in Skillshare. This is the creator here, the artist. I put his name down here. Overall, I really struggled with my colors in this painting. They turned out just really muddy, and I wasn't mixing along with him. The component that I was proud of in this was just this little fence. I thought that looked kind of cool. So that's the part that I like about that. I was also traveling when I was doing these, so that also plays an element. And then strawberries. I had to do several because I couldn't get it right until I did this one. It kind of looked like a painted strawberry. These are just very kind of flat, and it's a good challenge with all of these seeds to get like a good balance of the lights and shadows. And then the rest of the background was just watercolor. Actually, this is all watercolor, but for the highlights I did use white gouache. Here we are again. I did use a reference for this, but also again cannot remember where it's from. But I mostly did this one because some of the colors on the other side had leaked through the paper when I used a marker, and so I just kind of used an all gouache painting here to try to cover those up. So I did like kind of the way the sky turned out and the clouds, but down here, like the mountains and the land area, just felt like turned out really flat. So definitely some area to improve there. And then next I did this door here, which I really enjoyed because this was the first time I added in some pen marks to my artwork. If you can tell here. But I used pen to create these little circles here, and I used the micron type pens here. I usually use a 03 or a 02, but that's how I created the texture on the door. I kind of did some leaf bubbles in the branches here, and then figured out I loved drawing bubbles in everything. So this was a big step for me in the right direction. Even when I look at other people's art, I love when they incorporate pen scribbles into their artwork. So then I went on to this page here, and I thought, well, if I liked this pen, maybe I'll like a thicker outline. And for the thicker outline over here, I used this pen, Pigma NB, and I did not like it. I didn't like the thicker lines. I like more the pen lines like I did over here, if you can tell. You can see. And again with the bubbles. Loved it. I actually really enjoy this page. I like this one. All right, this page, we were getting a little wild. We wanted to paint chickens, so we painted some chickens. And I did it very loose. I don't even think I drew these before I painted them. I just kind of blobbed some color down. I love these little eggs up here. I put some squiggle lines around them so they look like they're kind of moving and maybe shaking a boot. But I like looking at paintings of chickens, and so I just wanted to try it. And so that's what I did here with my chicken spread. It's kind of goofy and all over the place, but I enjoy this. Okay, this part here was, I think the rest of this book, I kind of focus on tutorials, I think. I wrote the artist here who did this tutorial. Again, I struggle with like my colors and color balancing and creating like depth. Like my tree here I was really liking, and then it kind of just melded into this coloring that I put down here. So I wish to be better with my colors and contrasting and making things look more with more depth, I guess. And then moved on to this one, which was another Skillshare tutorial I did. And I actually think following along with a tutorial is kind of challenging. If I had a lot of time, I would actually maybe like watch the whole tutorial first and then try and do it. But it's usually me like pausing the tutorial and then trying to do what he just did, and then playing and then pausing, or like slowing it down super slow. But overall, I really struggled with my branches and tree leaves up here. But I was really proud of my rocks. Right here, these rocks. Down here. I felt like these rocks turned out really well. And then I got my colors all kind of wonky in the water. There's like one color here, and one color here. But hey, we're learning, right? Right. Okay, this was another tutorial here. Again, my trees are blobby and meldy, and they don't really look like good trees. But I was proud of this mountain. I really liked the grooves and the lines and the shading I did in my mountain peak there. And I don't think you can really tell on camera, but there's just a very light gradient here of like a yellow sunset to like a very light blue moon. Or maybe this would be a sunrise. I don't know. But there's very pale yellow to light blue up here. Holy moly, this painting here I did in a tutorial. Ooh, this one was hard for me. But I learned so much about shadows and creating contrast and using the white of the page. This was a really good challenge and learning experience for me. And I just think it's a really cool painting in the end. Not something I would have just like decided to paint on my own, but I'm really glad that I did this tutorial because it really pushed me out of my comfort zone for sure. But I think turned out pretty decent, and I'm really proud of that one. Up here we just have a little mountainscape. I did really quickly. It's just more of like a doodle, in my opinion. I was trying my best again to do some water scenes. Water is so hard to do. So this is like another little beach scene. Didn't turn out the way I wanted, but you know, we're just here to learn. Here, I think my water turned out a little bit better than anticipated. And I did kind of add some peaks with some white gouache, which I almost wish I wouldn't have. I think it maybe would have looked a little bit better without, I'm not sure. But my mountain's super blobby and all the colors just kind of melded together. But overall, my water I think looked a little bit better here. Okay, this is one of my favorite spreads here because I decided to do some landscapes and I incorporated pen into this pen again. And I love the way these turned out. I used it in the trees and I think around the water line. These were done with watercolor, and then I added the pen on top. I did the same here. I think I just really enjoy this kind of illustrative, cartoony kind of painting rather than trying to be a little bit realistic. I just really enjoy the illustrative look. is what appeals to me. I think is more of where my art style leans to. This is actually just a little quick interpretation of one of my favorite places to go in real life. So my painting does not do it any justice. So yeah, but it was kind of cool up here doing just more like a pink sky with a pink mountain. That was different and I enjoyed that perspective. Also, I felt like I did a lot better with creating the edges of like shadows for the sides of the road and like here in the waterway. Gave it a little bit more of that dimensional look I've been trying to accomplish for so long. Here, this tree, I was really proud of this tree. It just kind of turned out the way I wanted it to. And I was really happy with that. And it was kind of the first one I was able to like add some branches throughout. Here at the bottom I did the flowers in gouache. I just kind of dotted the flowers on. And I actually really loved utilizing them that way. So, you know, like I said, sometimes I just want to go back and retry things. So this is actually me retrying, let's see where to go, this painting here. I retried in this little mini version up here, and I redid it up here without a tutorial. So this was just me off the cuff trying to redo what I did, and I actually love it. I think my backdrop came out a little bit better. My rocks have a little bit more dimension. The highlighting I was able to remember to use the paper, the white of the paper for that, and I just love the way my rocks turned out. Also, my water is a little bit better than it was in the last one. And then, as you can see here, was another one of those easy gradient, fill the paper paintings that I just like to add every once in a while when I just want something easy to do. Okay, here's another waterway painting that I was again just trying to incorporate those edges of the water so they look a little bit dimensional, and I did this with like different colors of brown to kind of create like this dirt edge, and overall I like this look. This, in my opinion, I turned into a blobby fail. It's too blobby for like a style that I like, and I don't think this was my mind's eye coming to fruition here. This just turned out to be a mess to me. And then over here, I really wanted like a stormy sky, and I thought these mountains kind of reminded me of like the Flatirons in Colorado, in Boulder, Colorado. Yeah, I think I left a little bit too much like dead space here in the middle. There's not a lot of texture or anything that makes it look like there's some hills in here, so that could have been better. Just a little blobby in lots of the areas. And then that's the end. That's the end of this sketchbook here. So like I said, if you are interested in starting your own sketchbook practice, I highly recommend you do. You can check out my blog post at steffipop.com on how to get started with a blog post. Also, if you like this video, please feel free to subscribe and like it. Thank you. Have a great day.